So the question remains, how do I market my book? How do I reach people? How do I get this message out there? The message that God has given me, He's put on the inside of me. And it begins with the phases of relationships. Now, if your goal is just to write and publish your book and get it out to your family and to some of your friends, then this segment of this session won't really apply, because the reality is you've got some friends and some family that just love you, and their credit card, their debit card is ready to go to purchase that book. But if your goal is to get your message out there beyond those that already love you and think that you're awesome and are going to easily, quickly purchase your book, then this really is for you. So how many of you can think right now, just take a second and do this. How many of you can think of at least 5 or 10 people that as soon as your book publishes, all you have to do is tell them where to get it and they're going to get it? How about 15? How about 20? Okay. So we're going to talk about that, because that's good and that's okay that your friends and your family will buy your book. We call that low-hanging fruit. You can't really step into this lifestyle of the messenger and publishing books and putting books out if your goal is just low-hanging fruit. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with just writing a book and publishing a book for that low-hanging fruit. But again, if your desire is to go beyond that, to get this message out there, and I would venture to say that not very many of you are actually here just because you want your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your cousins, your friends, your coworkers in your neighbor stand, who are your low-hanging fruit, to buy your book. But you have to keep your marketing simple. And when you can keep your marketing simple if you implement frameworks that work. It doesn't help you if you have a framework that doesn't work. And if you commit to some of the things that I'm going to roll out for you today, some of it will be really, really new. Some of it will be maybe a little bit refresher. And some of you, it'll be so over the top of your head, your head's going to be spinning, and you're going to have to forgive me later tonight because your head's spinning so much. But understand that in the same way that there are stages of relationships with just in the natural, there's also stages of relationships with your would-be, could-be, and should-be readers. And understanding these stages of relationships, it's important because it helps us as the writer, as the communicator, to understand how to reach new people beyond family, friends, and our neighbor Stan. How many of you have a neighbor Stan that you know is going to buy your book? Thank God for Stan. We're grateful for Stan, but we want to go beyond that. We all want, as writers and communicators and those that are going to write and publish books, we want people to understand how our book really can solve their problem. And we want them to understand that this book solves a problem so that they will actually purchase the book. Nobody ever decides to write a book without also understanding that they need to and that they want to publish it. So at some point, you actually have to ask people to buy the book. But it turns out, especially even now more so with social media, simply asking people to buy your book doesn't work. Ask somebody who has published some books and say, hey, if you just put it out there and say, hey, buy my book, go to Amazon. It actually just asking people to buy the product, asking people to sign up, asking people to register or buy the book, it doesn't work. At least not right away, because there's a process of relationship. So asking for a sale, asking for somebody to get your book beyond mom, dad, and your neighbor Stan is a relational proposition. So you need to understand that when you begin to ask people to buy your book, this is a relational, transactional proposition. And relationships have rules. All relationships have rules. Whether we're talking about a romantic relationship, a friendship, a relationship with a brand, I like Nike, I like Puma, I like, Adidas, all relationships move through 3 stages. And these stages should not be rushed. You want the Lord, of course, to be Lord over every single relationship and every stage, but you can't simply just, once you publish your book, just start asking people that are not in your low-hanging fruit, hey, buy my book, because they don't even know you. You haven't taken the time to build a relationship. And I want to say this, 15 years ago, this opportunity for you to build relationships really didn't exist. I mean, social media changed the game, completely changed the game. I mean, you go talk to Patricia King and Brian Simmons. I mean, the way you used to publish and market books, and David Sluga, completely different market, completely different understanding, completely different way that we actually communicate. So now, just regular awesome people like yourself can publish a book and connect with people without having to go through all of these really difficult, challenging processes of marketing. Social media has kind of leveled the playing field, but that doesn't change the fact that there are stages that relationships move through, and you don't want to rush them. So you're going to learn some principles to adopt and to also implement. And we're going to do a quick exercise at the very end. When I say quick, it's like, I don't know, you might even get like perturbed, perturbed, like we're just, that GIF, that meme, you're just like, because I'm going to make you move really, really quick, because I don't want you to overthink this. We're going to do that quick exercise, and it's called clarifying your audience roadmap. And this is so that you can determine who you are actually called to and how you should be communicating to them. If you have a better understanding who you're called to and how you should be able to communicate to them, you're going to be able to move beyond the low-hanging fruit. So you're going to hear me use this language a lot today. And if, as you continue on with us, you'll hear this. Your could be, would be, should be. So, that's a mouthful, but say it. Your could be, would be, should be readers, they are not going to move into a fog with you. They won't move into a fog in a book. Have you ever picked up a book and within the introduction or the first chapter and it's just foggy? You're not going to finish that book. You're not going to keep reading. You're done. But the reality is that you also can't expect people to move into a fog on your marketing, on your social media. And I'm going to give you some really practical stuff, but I'm also going to give you some things that are really insightful and help you as well. So when people are confused, that makes them feel vulnerable. So if your marketing is confusing to people, if your book is confusing, of course, but being confused about anything, this is a state of vulnerability, and people don't like that type of vulnerability. The brain, the mind, the human brain is really designed to experience pleasure when it understands something. And when it doesn't understand, fear and resistance comes in. So we have to help lift the fog, and we have to help lift the fog before they even get the book. And I'm telling you that some of these things will actually make you a much better communicator, a much better writer and speaker and teacher, where you're at least aware of the fog, and you can ensure that you're not expecting people to understand confusion. Because when you confuse people, guess what? You lose them. There's a basic survival mechanism, and it's one that very few authors, and we've worked with authors for a number of years, but very few authors actually take this into account when they communicate with their customers about the fog, and when somebody is confused. And when somebody is confused in varying degrees, they feel exposed, and they feel danger, they feel vulnerable, and they don't actually want to move forward. Who likes driving in fog? Don't raise your hand. I mean, if you do, okay, fine, right? But the reality is we don't like to drive in fog because we can't actually see where we're going. We don't, it's like, if you live in places like maybe in like New England or different places where there's a lot of fog, you get used to it. But here in Texas, oh my goodness, the big, great state of Texas shuts down if there's too much fog because people don't want to move forward. It feels vulnerable and it feels dangerous. So we want to move our readers, our would-be, could-be, should-be readers, they haven't purchased the book yet. We want to move them away from confusion, and we want to move them toward understanding so that they feel a little bit more in control. You know what the answer to confusion is? It's always no. So if your marketing is confusing, then they're not likely to buy the book. But when you begin to inspire, we haven't even got to the 15 keys, but we're going to, and we're going to go quick. When you focus on inspiring your customers, that fog begins to lift. You lift that fog and you help them see clearly how your book will help solve their now problem. I'll say that again. When you inspire your would-be, could-be, should-be reader, you help lift that fog and help them see clearly how your book and the outcome of that book can help solve their right now problem. So give an example. If the header of your website, the first words of your proposal, or even the first thing you say as a keynote speaker or in your teaching is meant to create curiosity and to inspire, well, then the next idea that you're going to communicate would be that it's going to come from their mind. The next idea is going to be, but how do I do that? So if you're the header of your website, the first words of your proposal, the first words out of your keynote, pique this curiosity and begin to inspire somebody, the next thing that comes into their mind and the next thing that you want to be able to communicate is how to do that, how to solve that, how to move into that. And that's part of the 3 stages that you'll actually take people through in that relationship. So as you think about marketing campaigns and you're probably thinking, I just signed up to write and publish a book. I didn't know I was going to have to market the book. You are the primary marketer of your message. You are the primary communicator. You're the primary salesperson. Now, you might be able to later if you can afford to hire a social media manager and some people to help you with something, that's great. But ultimately, you're going to have to create marketing campaigns that pique their curiosity and inspire them as you solve their problem and you help them overcome and actually improve their life. Why do people actually buy a book in the first place? What's the primary reason that they would even go to buy that book? It solves a problem because it's going to give them a different experience that they're experiencing right now. They're in a current state, and after they read your book, there's an after state, and we'll talk about that today. But you're going to inspire people with your marketing campaigns that create aha moments. And you actually, as an author, you don't have to create new, fresh aha moments that don't already exist in your book. All you're going to do is extract the inspiration and extract the curiosity, extract the aha moments that are in your book, and then reposition it and put it into a context that works for social media. So you're called to inspire people. You're called to create aha moments. Well, what's an aha moment, right? An aha moment is when somebody learns something or understands something or knows something that they can apply that they didn't know before. And then there's that light bulb, right? And I get it. Now I know how to do what? Get out of the fog and move forward. That's what an aha moment does. And that's what you're doing in your book. Whoever your reader is, whoever your would-be, could-be, should-be reader is, you're creating aha moments for them where they're moving out of the fog of life and they're moving into the clarity of vision. And now all of a sudden the lights are on and they know what the next step is. That's an aha moment. It might sound, maybe a little intimidating, but it's really not, because you yourself, you buy books all the time because of people that have inspired you. You buy books from certain people and certain authors and certain writers and speakers all the time simply because they created some kind of an aha moment. They helped you get out of the fog so so that you could see where you were going. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to spend $20. Let me just add this. You know, the reality is that the objection to purchasing or not purchasing your book isn't for most people a financial one. You know, if you're talking a $15, $20, maybe a $25 investment, that's not the objection for most people. The objection is time. The objection is not spending $15, $20, or $10 if it's a Kindle ebook. It's not the financial investment, it's the time investment. Well, I've already got a stack of books over here that I haven't even read. It's the time investment. So if you're creating aha moments, guess what? Those books are getting read. Those books are getting read. And you create the aha moment in your social media, and you're piquing that curiosity and that interest. So inspire people and create aha moments.